N, as if you watch the episode of That Metal Show, you know stands for Tooth and Ale, or T and A. It was going to be Tooth and Ale.
All sorts of things.
What are we had? I don't know what we had planned there, Jeff.
Well, Tooth and Ale was a product of That Metal Show, and we gave that a try. That didn't fly past the powers that be. But so we stuck with TNN, which was, I'm not going to say where that came from, because you and I know, right? Wink, wink, wink into the radio.
Well, anyway, it's TNN is the official name of the band,
It is now,
and
yes.
Slave to the Empire is the name of that song, and as many people know, that is George Lynch and Mick Brown and yourself. And
Well, actually, that was Tishy on drums on that one.
Tishy's on the original song.
Correct.
Mick is on the Doc and remix.
That is correct.
Gotcha.
That is correct.
Okay. God forbid I get that wrong. Tishy will be blowing up my phone with texts. And
you know what? He played so well that he deserves to blow up your phone.
Yeah, well, there's no bigger fan of Tishy than I am.
Yeah,
so.
well, all of us, I think.
Absolutely. So, and then, of course, the question right out of the gate for Jeff Pilson, who just walked in to the cleanup hole here in what has been a non-stop interview show since...
Old Friends Day.
Yeah, 6 p.m. rather, Eastern Time, and it's now 9:33 here in New York City. This show started live, and we've had a host of characters in here. And Jeff was in here early outside the glass while we had the winery dogs in.
Yes.
And you got to see Jason Newstead on the way out.
Yes, who I haven't seen in a while.
And now you're here, and we've got 22 minutes for you before it ends.
Hey, we'll make the most of it.
But I was glad to get you some time at least.
Thank you, Ed.
And tell me what's a lot to cover, but tell me the status of that band. Is it still Is there still a plan?
Of course, there's a plan. Probably George and I are going to start writing in the fall. And the plan that we want to do is to release a record in the fall of 14.
But there was a plan to go out and have Michael Sweet sing and all that. Is that shelved for now?
I wouldn't say shelved. It's just, we got to find the time for it. And so hopefully by the end of next year, we'll have some time for that. That would be great. The first priority with TNN is to record, because it's a labor of love for us to make music together.
See, that's interesting, because that's counter to what most bands are after these days, which is that nobody sells records. We want to be on the road.
Right. Well, I mean, the road would be great. I would love to take TNN on the road. It's very difficult with scheduling, especially because with Foreigner, I'm working, all year long. So it's very, very difficult. But yes, it is kind of different, because TNN was born out of the fact that George and I love to work together. We love to write, and so the next record we're going to use Mick Brown to write as well as record. So it is. It's just about music. It's about the creative side of music for us, which is awesome.
Were you and George always like that? Were you and George always like from day one had that sort of chemistry?
The first day he ever came over to my house, he walked in the door, he saw my guitar, he picked it up, and we wrote a song.
Have you ever because that's really interesting, because you and he have that incredible connection and friendship and working relationship, and always have. So is it baffling to you that how he and Don could be so not that?
No, not baffling when you know them. No, because they never did, even in the day. They never worked together. In fact, the first time the three of us ever wrote a song together was about 3 years ago, when we were kind of contemplating the whole Doc and reunion thing. We actually got together at my house one day, and Don and George and I worked on 3 songs together for the first time in 30 years.
Wow. Was that before or after that George and Don came on That Metal Show?
That was before that.
Before that, because it pretty much got announced and died in that half hour with us. If you watch that episode,
the shortest lived reunion ever.
It was one of my crowning achievements to get them to sit down next to each other and that thing. And when I did that, and I asked them, if you watch that episode, I actually say to them, because there was a couple looks that went between them, and I actually said to them, if you watch that repeat, are we watching this end before it starts? Because they're already disagreeing on stuff. And I was saying it kind of half jokingly, but it turned out that was
prophetic.
That was the end before it started.
Actually, it was never really on. That they shouldn't have. I mean, it was great that they went on the show together, but it was too misleading, because we hadn't gotten to the point where we'd agreed to do a reunion yet, so it was premature.
Well, and I think it was George that said that, or Don, both have said it, that it was a little clouded, because I guess they were worried more about you, because you had not told Mick Jones in the Foreigner camp that you may go do this, and they didn't want them to find out about it through TV.
Well, kind of. I mean, that's what I just hadn't approached Foreigner, and because there was nothing to approach Foreigner with.
Right.
There was no official stuff, so it was just really putting the cart before the horse there on that one.
How long have you been in Foreigner now?
9 years.
9 years.
Can you believe that?
You are pretty much like you're the guy. I mean, right now.
The new originals.
Yeah, of Foreigner Mark II. You're
well, Kelly and Tom Gimbel. Yeah.
You all started at the same time?
Well, Tom Gimbel, of course, has been in the band 20 years now. Kelly started actually the spring after I did. I came in July of '04.
Because there was a couple other singers.
No, there was one. There was only one show. We were going to put the band together. We did one show in July of '04, and that was
Johnny something.
No, Chaz West. Oh, you're thinking of Johnny Edwards, who was the singer in '92. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Because people think either Lou or Kelly, but there were a couple other.
There was Johnny Edwards and then Chaz West for one show.
Okay. I didn't know Chaz was even in for one show.
Well, it actually wasn't even Foreigner. It was called Mick Jones and Friends, and we did one show. But that's when Mick decided he did want to get the band back together.
Right. Okay. And how is Mick now? Is he playing with you? Is he out?
He just did the Europe tour with us.
He did.
It was great. We just had a great time.
His health is good?
His health is great. He's playing fabulous. It's all good.
So he's going to be, for foreseeable future for gigs, people will be seeing him on the road?
They will be. Not all gigs. Probably not all gigs, but definitely select gigs, yes.
Is that a byproduct of his health, his age, his desire not to be on the road? What is it?
It's people being very cautious about not wanting to blow him out too fast.
Right. Because he appears to be healthy and
I think
great.
He's in great health.
He's not that. What is he, early, mid-60s probably?
He's older than I am.
That's a response from a guy who wants to make sure he keeps his job.
Yeah, no, he's not that old. It's just like I say, it's just being very cautious with his health, which I think is a great thing.
And he recently was it the Songwriters Hall of Fame?
Songwriters Hall of Fame
with Lou.
He's in.
Him and Lou Graham went in, and did they play around that?
They did a show. Yeah, they did. They did a song. They did "I Want to Know What Love Is," and I think they did "Jukebox Hero" as well.
So
it was from all I heard, it was great.
So, but you guys weren't the backing band.
No. Tom Gimbel did do it, but no, it was. I think it was the house band, whoever that was, Paul Schaefer or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know what, because that's the same day Steven Tyler and Joe Perry did it.
Yes.
That was here in New York, I think.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I didn't see any coverage of it though, or broadcast or anything.
I saw like 2 seconds of a YouTube clip where Lou sounded really good.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I think Kelly does a phenomenal job with you guys.
Kelly is amazing every night.
And as I told Kelly when I met him recently, because Kelly came up to me. I think I told you this off the air. Kelly confronted me at NAMM. Not confronted, maybe it'll sound the wrong way, but we met. We were introduced to each other at NAMM because I really didn't know him. I knew him from Hurricane, and of course I've seen him with you guys, and I've said nothing but positive things about his role in the band. So. But as we were talking, we walked away, he came up to me and he needed to clear the air on some stuff. And it took me by surprise because I'm like, sure, I've said critical things. That's what I do about some people. But this guy, I've never seen great things about. Why is he tweaked? But to his credit, he talked it out. And what the issue was that he had taken exception to the fact that on that metal show, we talked about the fact that you guys, Foreigner, were technically doing shows with no original members. Which, if technically is true.
It was true.
Well, that's what I said to him. I said, so where's the problem? But he didn't like the vibe of it, thinking that, like, I guess it wasn't. And here's what threw me about it. Because if you watch the show, because I went back and I looked, was there something here? It wasn't done like, can you believe Foreigner is doing this? It was done as a jumping off point to talk about a bigger conversation, which I think is really interesting. Will we see more bands that are going to continue the legacy of the music without any original members that still do well like Foreigner does. And the examples I bring up is I heard Brian May is going to launch sort of a Queen thing that he sanctions and works behind.
Kiss, we all know,
Kiss
is planning on doing
half
that
there and headed that way.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, it was more of a broader conversation, and he was just like, Mick's coming back, and this, we don't. I was like, it wasn't meant as any attack. It was more of like, is this a sign of what we can see, and proving that Foreigner is proving that it works, because you guys do great.
I think when you have great music and you do it with a great band, it can't help but be, but live on and do well. Foreigner was a situation where it was a fairly faceless band.
I've said that a lot too, yeah.
And so we could probably get away with it easier than Motley Crue could.
Sure.
Yeah. But listen, we are sanctioned by Mick Jones, even if he's not there, because the vision is still there. Kelly and Tom and I have been there 9 years, so we know the band quite well. So it's not like it's completely from scratch. And I think we do it with respect. We treat it with respect, and we give it our all. And listen, Kelly's a great front man.
He is, and I said this to him when we talked, and we had and as I said, and I was sincere about this when we ended the conversation. I said, I'm glad that. Appreciative that you discuss this with me, because there's a lot of guys that would misread something that I may have said, keep it inside, and then just, that guy's a dick or whatever. I wish more people would come up and discuss it and hash it out. And I said to him, I said, I couldn't help but to say, well, what's funny is you dwelled on that one thing. I said, how come you never ever once said about the 95% positive things I said about you're doing an incredible job with what I think are some of the greatest vocals ever recorded with Lou Gramm. And he was just like, well, yeah, there's that too. And I'm like, nobody ever wants to talk about the positives.
Yeah. Well, see, now I want to clear the air on something too.
Go ahead.
Because you have talked about how you think that things are different now because people don't, they spend their time in different bands, different projects. Multitasking.
Yeah.
And listen, I do understand that there is a certain degree where it would be nice if all you had to do is focus on one thing, And there was a net positive result out of that, I believe. But I think that there's something that bands like TNN or even Winery Dogs are starting to prove, which is that Winery Dogs probably don't make their living solely off of Winery Dogs.
Well, they hope to, but...
Well, we all hope to,
right?
But I mean, they probably don't. And, those guys are all individual, virtuosos, so I'm sure they do very well on their own in that way and whatever.
Sure.
So, without knowing the details, that's probably not their sole living. But they make this music that they love. And part of not being dependent on it for a living gives you a freedom that I know, like with TNN we had, that is so ridiculously liberating and just gives you the creative impetus to do things that you would never have dreamed of doing. That I think, even though, yes, it's great to be able to focus on one thing, and yes, you can make a lot of progress in that, but I think overall, having the freedom, the creative freedom, is a better thing.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with guys being in more than one band. I think some of it...
No, I don't. I think what your point was is that you think it must somehow take away from your main project if you're in multiple things.
Yeah, well, where I think a lot of that came from, and you mentioned the Winery Dogs, is probably with Portnoy. Who is we've been friends for a long time, and ever since Mike left Dream Theater, he's jumped around to a lot of things, and there's never been any true follow-through on any of the things he does, and it gets frustrating as a fan because you're like, there's dates, there's gonna be what's going on, where's your heart?
Sure.
And that's why bringing up Winery Dogs as an example is interesting, because he left his other bands because he realized I do need to kind of hang my hat somewhere.
Sure.
And I think that tons of guys are multitasking, and I get that you have to do that.
Well, you have to. Aside from that,
But I also think that almost everybody has to more or less have a priority and hang their hat somewhere.
Or just focus.
Because for you, just by nature of you saying the time, I get the sense, and tell me if I'm wrong, the place you're going to hang your hat when you have to is Foreigner now.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course.
So, everybody has kind of home base, and then they figure out what they can fill in the cracks with.
But it's not a matter of filling in the cracks for me, anyways, because with TNN, I get that real, true, creative vibe and satisfaction. And I think, and I might be wrong, but I think if that was all I was doing, I don't think I would feel quite as liberated.
Sure.
I think I'd have to be thinking a little bit different ways. I mean, Winery Dog's record is really great. And what's great about it is that they're them. You know what I mean? It's, Richie's a great singer, writer, and everything, and he's writing these great songs, and then they play, and then they come in and do all this great playing, which 30 years ago, you probably couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
If that was all you had to do, I don't know how many labels would have let you do that.
And for you, in your situation, you have Foreigner, which is this, you're playing this catalog of unbelievable songs and hits and stuff that predominantly, much of that show, the large portion of it, you were not a part of the creative end of
all of it.
Yeah. So for you, I would imagine doing TNN or doing whatever else you do, Jeff Pilson, the writer, Jeff Pilson, the creative side is a great outlet for you.
It's necessary.
You need to, because you could only play Jukebox Hero so many times without...
Yeah, and I do get a lot of creative satisfaction out of producing records, too, which
we should talk about that, because for people that don't know, and we're short on time, but if you want to call in and talk to Jeff real quick, 866-315-2663. We'll try to cram in a couple calls before we wrap up what's been an insanely crazy show. But you have been... really busy and building a great resume as a producer.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Slowly but surely. Well, last year I did the TNN record and the Adler record, both which I was very, very happy with. And then this year I've got, and it's been hell trying to finish these, but I did the Starship record, which is going to be coming out in the fall, which, talk about a small world. Starship is going to be on Loud and Proud, the same label that Winery Dogs are on. And I came here tonight to meet with Gary, who works with Winery Dogs, who will be working with Starship. And so, such an incestuous world.
Who's in Starship?
Well, he's got a band. Primarily, the record is myself playing, Mark Schulman on drums, and Mickey singing.
Oh, so Mickey's...
But it's Mickey Thomas. It's basically his thing at this point. But wait till you hear it, Eddie. His singing is just phenomenal.
He still has pipes, huh?
He's got pipes that you would not believe. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
It's not a total heavy rock record, but it's heavier than you might think.
Well, stuff like Jane was rocking.
Yeah. There's some stuff in that vein, and I wrote 8 of the songs on it, and it just came out amazing. So that's coming, and then I've got this Kill Devil Hill record that I'm finishing, which, again, I'm just over the moon excited about. It's so great. What a band. For one thing, you get this insane rhythm section of Vinny Appice and Rex Brown. Insane players. And then you got Dewey Bragg, who is just a phenomenal vocalist, he's got one of those magical voices where he can sing anything and it just feels and sounds wonderful. You're looking, so.
There's Gary J, the promotion guy's walking around. I want to tell him he can come in if he wants. Gary, come on in if you want.
It's a party. Tonight's party night.
It is. It's open. There's no admission charge tonight. Come on in. It's an open door policy here, Gary. Come on in.
But so anyways, Kill Devil Hill should be coming out late fall, and I'm just so excited about it. People are going to flip when they hear it.
You have a studio in your house, right?
I do.
And
a good one.
A good one. And so that's got to be great, because you just talked about your schedule, though. I imagine clearing a few weeks to record isn't easy.
That's the hardest part. And like the last couple times I've been home, I'd be home for a couple days at a time, and I'd be doing 18-hour days in the studio, which, the family is tremendously patient about, by the way.
Yeah, I bet.
Tremendously. You got to make the use of the time, but I'm very serious about wanting to produce records. I love it. It's just a passionate thing I love to do.
That calls for Jeff Pilson at 866-315-2663. We're live for another 10 minutes exactly here on Sirius XM 39.
Trying to talk as fast as I can.
Yeah, I know. It's just nuts.
That's great, man.
When did you first get an interest in producing? How far back does that date? Did you do a lot of stuff in Dokken at all?
Yeah, well, not officially, but what was amazing is when I first joined the band, which was in '83, and when we went to do the Tooth and Nail record, we got somehow we had a producer that started working with Don on a couple songs and just felt like he couldn't work with him, and literally this producer, who was a big name producer, walked up to me and said, "You know what? You handle it from now on." And I was the new guy.
Wasn't Michael Wagner, was it?
No, it was no, not Michael. Hell no.
I don't see Michael doing that.
No, Michael's great. And in fact, the producer that we had was great, but he just didn't jibe with Don, so he kind of stuck me in the chair. But I loved it. I really did.
So you learned by trial by fire.
A lot of trial by fire. And then I just started learning. You know, I tried to be a sponge, picking up with... I mean, I've worked with some amazing people.
Yeah.
Is
there a guy that taught you the most, or is the biggest influence on you as a producer?
One of the bigger was Jeff Workman, who was the engineer on Tooth and Nail, because he and I spent every day and night together, and I learned a lot from him. Then, you know, we worked with Roy Thomas Baker. I learned from him. Michael Wagner, I learned a lot from him. Wynn Davis, I've learned a lot from him. The list goes on.
Yeah.
Mick Jones, God, I've learned a lot from him.
Sure, yeah, because people forget. I mean, he produced 5150.
And he's got such an amazing set of ears. Billy Joel's big record.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jeff Pilson is here. We're going to grab a couple calls right now before we wrap it up. 866-315-2663. Before we go to that, though, just give everybody the overview of what's next for you. Just more Foreigner dates? Are you out now?
Foreigner until the end of the year, nonstop. It's crazy. We're going to be re-releasing our acoustic record next year, which, again, real passionate thing for me because I produced that too. So it's and that's going to be wonderful, and just lots of touring. And then, like I say, writing with George starting in the fall. Hoping to have a TNN record by fall of next year, and if we can tour it, that would be fabulous.
And somewhere in there, he'll see his beautiful family.
Yeah, I know. I miss them really bad.
I know your wife, and I've met your child. So
Olivia,
yeah, she's
my little pie.
Yeah, I saw them both. I think it was at the in LA, like the Dio fundraiser for the guitars or whatever.
Oh,
you were there, right?
That art museum.
Yeah, that
thing.
art museum.
Yeah.
I came in at the end, and you were there, and
Yes.
It's a good time. All right, let's get a couple quick ones here. Let's go to Dave in Maryland. Go ahead, Dave. You're on with Jeff Pilson.
Hey, Eddie. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm fine. Hey, man, I just wanted to tell you, I really not a question. I just want to give you kudos, man. I'm stalking, and when you and George and you guys are together, I mean, it's just fucking unreal.
Thank you.
Kick the doors down. And when TNN came in, man, I was like, unbelievable. I mean, I was
thank you.
You find out these guys, you know, like, where the fuck are they? And then all of a sudden TNT comes on. You gotta be shitting me.
TNN.
It's like a flashback into, you know, I mean, but it's better. It's new, and I really like it. And I like the fact that you're singing. I mean,
thank you.
You're good at singing.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I'm a singer, and I do some stuff like that. And I've always loved, you know, the stuff you guys did. So
well, thank you, Dave. Thank you very much.
Kicking ass.
Well, thank you. We'll continue doing that.
Thank you, Dave. Exactly. And not for anybody. Make sure they do it for you. Let's go to Maine and talk to Mike in Maine. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey,
just a quick question. A few years back, Jeff, I seen the Foreigner at that Pop the Cork up here in Lockport, Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta tell you, I've seen quite a few shows in the past 2 or 3 years, from everything from Styx to Aerosmith. You guys kicked fucking ass.
Well, thank you. I think we do too.
I mean, you guys are so tight. I mean,
thank you.
Unbelievable.
It's a pretty magical band. Yes, I gotta say.
Yeah, and you know, Mick wasn't there, but the guy who filled in, stand-up job. Kelly's an awesome front man.
It's Anito, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call, Mike. Who is playing guitar predominantly?
Watson.
Okay, I don't know him, but
he's great.
Okay, because I know some other guys have been in and out of there. I know Joel Hoekstra did some stuff.
Joel Hoekstra did some
Doug
shows.
Aldrich did some things.
Yeah, Doug Aldrich played a couple of shows, but Bruce is the guy now, and Bruce is actually now a full-time member of Foreigner, whether Mick's there or not.
So he just slides over a little bit.
Yep, that's right.
There. We do have someone named Olivia from Los Angeles calling right now, live on the phone. Olivia, you're on the air. I don't know if you like this guy or not, but say hello.
Hello. Mr. Jeff Pilson. Hold on, sweetheart. Hold on 1 second. Ding, 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 ding. Okay.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
Olivia, are you a fan at all of Jeff Pilson's, or?
What's your favorite record that I've ever done?
Oh, that's a bad sign when you got to think that hard.
Well, that's because they're all so good.
Oh, that's Daddy with the half glass full right there.
Right, honey?
Yeah.
Olivia, the proper answer if you want money and allowances as you get older is everyone, Daddy.
Daddy.
All right, honey. Well, I love you.
I love you.
Okay.
Take care, Olivia. Thank you for calling. Something tells me Olivia doesn't listen to this radio show every single week, but something special about Jeff Pilson here.
I know she's listened quite a few times because she listened when Steve Adler was on. I know that.
Okay.
Because remember, Steve said
sort
hello
of,
to her.
Right, well, any sort of Pilson association, right? That's when she listens. That was Jeff's daughter. How old is she?
She's 9.
She's 9.
Going on 30.
Yeah, I have a 9-year-old daughter as well, so I'm right there with you.
I didn't know you had a 9-year-old daughter.
My daughter's 9. My son's about to be 6.
We gotta get them together, Eddie.
We live 3,000 miles apart.
So, I travel.
It's a long Skype.
Hey, thank God for Skype.
Oh my gosh! But yeah, so I'm right there with you. My daughter's about to go to 4th grade.
Yes, so is mine.
And she's in summer camp now, and it's a Girl Scout Brownies camp thing, and goes and rides horses and does all sorts of things that cost Daddy a lot of money.
So Daddy wants these records from all your artists to sell.
Yeah,
It would help.
This job doesn't pay, you know that. So I don't, But yeah, so it's all good. Well, thank you, Olivia, for calling and for listening. We appreciate that. Let's get one more quick one. Again, Los Angeles. This is Todd. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff?
Hey, great. How you doing?
Good, good. Hey, I wanted to ask you, I went to the Monsters of Rock show in Denver, I guess it was 1988, with Van Halen and Metallica.
It was indeed.
Scorpions. And my friend told me that you guys broke up right after that set. Is that right?
Yes, we did. Actually, it was in Denver. It was right after the show. We had a meeting where, like, all the record company people and came from New York, and the accountants came from L.A., and the lawyers came from wherever, and we all met in a conference room, at the hotel right by Mile High Stadium. I think it was. I forget what the hotel was, but we were in a conference room watching Van Halen play, and we were breaking up. Yes.
Was it just everybody had enough at that point? People ready to kill each other?
Well, and it didn't become official at that point. It actually became official in March of '89, if you wanted to get technical. But yeah, I mean, Don had earlier in the year said that he was going to leave. And basically what it was is the label and everybody were there to try and persuade us not to break up. They were basically throwing money at us.
Right.
But
not enough.
We showed them.
Well, listen, I have to end to the second, otherwise they just snap it back away from me into the stream of music. So I have to end. So let me do my wrap up here. What a crazy show that started 4 hours ago. Thank you to Richie Kotzen, Billy Sheehan, Mike Portnoy, the Winery Dogs in here. Thank you to Mike Mushock, Jason Newstead. They were in here just a little while ago. And of course, thank you, Jeff Pilson, for cleaning our windows before on the outside.
That was my tongue,
And also, I'm glad I could get you in a little bit at the end. You hit me up in the week, and I wanted to find you sometime. So
this was a pleasant surprise. I was actually going to just come by and say hi to everybody. So
well, I'm
glad.
glad to see you. And again, follow Jeff on Twitter. It's just Jeff Pilson, is it?
Yep.
There it is, at Jeff Pilson. Yep. I'm at Eddie Trunk, eddietrunk.com. You got a website?
Well, you can go to my Facebook page, which would be even better.
There you go. And I'll be back again next week. I have no idea. This show was such a blur. Who the hell's coming in next week? But go to my site, eddietrunk.com. Check the Trunk Report. Be sure to follow on Twitter.
Maybe Olivia can come in next week.
Olivia may be going for my job. I have a feeling. I think that she's an aspiring broadcaster. It certainly sounds like.
She is an actress.
And trust me, I know, having a 9-year-old myself, I know how they can take over. So
oh, boy.
I've got my eyes wide open, Olivia. Keeping an eye on you. All right. I'll see you guys, like I said, next week. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you to all my guests. And you guys have a great week. Live again next Monday, starting at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, right here on Channel 39 for another live edition of Trunk Nation. Have a good one.
Yes.